Hello, today I am going to be talking about the lowest rated books on my TBR. I've been doing videos like this recently, the highest and lowest rated books I have read and that are on my TBR. These videos were inspired by Andrew from the channel You Could Be Reading More, who did videos like these. These ratings are based on the average Goodreads rating, so that's where I'm getting this data from. And so this time I'll be talking about the lowest rated books I've yet to read but want to. My criteria for this video is I'm including books that have an average rating of 3.50 or lower. If you've read any of these books, you may give me your spoiler-free thoughts on them. And then with this video and the highest rated on my TBR, maybe one day I can look back at this and see if I was right about why people dislike these books so much, or my thoughts on if I would enjoy them. I mean, clearly if they're on my TBR, I think I will enjoy them. None of these books I want to read for somebody else or because I have to. So clearly I have some faith in them. So yeah, like with the highest rated books on my TBR, I'll be giving my thoughts on why I think these books have such a low rating. I mean, I have to keep in mind that my favorite book currently has a very low average rating on Goodreads. I'm still not quite sure why. So like I said in my highest rated video, I think that it's up to me to read these books for myself and develop my own opinion and not go based on these ratings, but I will still have a fun time talking about it and seeing if I can guess why they have such a low rating. Lower than average anyway. I don't know really what people consider a good rating, maybe anything 4.0 or higher. I guess admittedly if I do see it's lower than 4, that's not really going to sway my opinion of whether or not I'm going to read the book, but I may be like, oh okay, this isn't as popular, people don't like it as much, but I will still totally give it a chance myself because I'm just one person. I may love a book, even if a bunch of other people don't like it, that's their opinion. Alright, now let's get started. Now, most of these books are fiction, which is actually the opposite from the highest rated video. Most of those, the highest rated books on my TBR, were nonfiction, which made sense to me, but most of these are fiction. But I'll just start with the nonfiction for this video. The first book is I Want It Now, a memoir of life on the set of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory by Julie Dawn Cole, who was the original actress of Veruca Salt. This currently has an average rating of 3.47 out of over 1,000. I'm interested in reading this book because I love the Charlie / Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory franchise. I've seen all the movies, even the Tom and Jerry version. I love each of them. Well, I wouldn't really say I love the Tom and Jerry version, but it was alright. I mean, I enjoyed it. But I especially love the original. That's probably my favorite of all them. Maybe the new Wonka prequel, I quite love that one. But anyway, yes, I love that series, that franchise, that world, whatever you want to call it. And I'd be very interested in reading this memoir and learning about what it was like on set for one of the main actors. As for my guess for why this has a low rating, maybe it's not very well written according to some people. Maybe they just don't find it that interesting, which I can understand. It really depends on each person's individual interest level. Maybe this being a memoir about a specific topic, they expect a lot of something and maybe that's not quite what they got with it. I don't know. If I had to guess, I'd say I'll probably enjoy this. I mean, some memoirs are not the best. They kind of are just people rambling about like different things in their life without really, going in order, and it's kind of like, okay, why are you telling me about your favorite dishes? Like, I don't know. I mean, if you're like a chef, that makes sense. I mean, it's your memoir, you can talk about whatever you want, but this does seem to have a specific theme with the movie, so hopefully a lot of it's about that. If she talks for the first like 10 chapters about her childhood, that might not be as interesting to me, depending. I don't know. Well, then again, I guess this movie was part of her childhood, but that's just an example, so I think I will probably enjoy this. The next book is Obsessive Intrusive Magical Thinking by Marianne Eloise. This has an average rating of 3.36 out of over 800. I was not familiar with this author prior to putting this book on my TBR. I believe I put it on because I saw Emily Cady, who is an author I actually mentioned in my highest rated books on my TBR video. She did like a review of this and said something about the book that sounded interesting. So I don't know if this author is like a content creator or something, but this is basically a sort of memoir about her experiences with having an obsessive mind, and I believe it's about obsessive compulsive disorder, and from what I've heard about it, it sounds like something that I will probably be able to relate to, so I'm interested in seeing how she puts that into words. As for why this has a low rating, I think I've read some of the reviews, and I think from my understanding, this is sort of just a video of her talking about her experiences. I don't think it's like a self-help guide. I don't think that it's advice. Maybe she has some advice. Maybe she talks about some things that have helped her. But for the most part, this does seem to be more just kind of her rambling about her experiences. And maybe it's not so much help or advice. Maybe some people will read this and they'll be like, okay, yeah, that's what I struggle with too. But it's like, what am I supposed to do about it? I don't know because I haven't read the book, but it might be something like that, I'm guessing. And they might be like, okay, I maybe didn't get much out of that. I'm glad you were able to write this down, put your feelings into words, help other people know they're not alone. But maybe it's like, yeah, there's not much of a conclusion or a resolution. I don't know yet. We will have to see. Will I like it? I think at the very least I'll probably relate to it, but I don't know if it'll be a 5-star read for me. I don't feel sure about that, especially when I don't really know anything about the author. So that's all the nonfiction. Now the rest are all fiction, so let's get started on those. The first of the fiction is My Ideal Boyfriend is a Croissant by Laura Dockrill, a book that I saw at Ollie's Bargain Outlet, and it sounded pretty interesting to me. This has an average rating of 3.34 out of over 1,000, which is kind of low. I haven't read this book. I haven't read anything by the author. I don't really know why this has a somewhat low average rating, but I think with fiction in general, it could just be it was poorly written, or it was boring, or people just didn't enjoy it. Maybe they didn't connect with the characters, maybe the pacing was bad. There are so many things that could contribute. Maybe it's all those things. But I want to try coming up with a specific guess for each book. For this one, I really am just not sure. It has stuff to do with body positivity, it seems, and so maybe that bothers some people. I'll have to see for myself. That's my only guess, really. And the synopsis mentions feminism. Maybe that's part of it. For some people, I don't know. I might enjoy it. I can only speak for myself. Next, we got a couple of books by A.J. Hartley, one of my favorite authors. The first is The Mask of Atreus, which I believe was his first published novel. I think this is some sort of archaeological thriller. I don't really know much about it. As for why it has a rather low average rating of 3.34 out of over 1,000, I don't know. I mean, I've read some of his books, so I can kind of guess that maybe this book is just kind of boring. I don't find his writing boring, but he is very academic. Like, he is a Shakespeare professor, so maybe some people just won't connect with his writing style. I do think he has a lot of run-on sentences, and I, for the most part, like the way he writes, but I do understand how it's not for everyone. But I don't think that it's boring or dry. Like, I think he is good at wanting to make you care about the characters. That's important to him. He is good at writing a thrilling, exciting story, so it's not like it's just walls of text and nothing interesting. But it is also his first book. Maybe he's just learned some things since then. I'm sure that he has. This book was published about 20 years ago, I think. Maybe it's just the plot itself. I don't really know. But I can kind of understand, can kind of guess from having read his work before and knowing that this is older, so possibly not as good. But I want to read most of what he's written, so that's why I'll give it a chance. I think it's more because I like the author and less because the story itself sounds interesting to me. And then the second book of his is What Time Devours, which is the second book in the Thomas Knight series, and that has an average rating of 3.39 out of over 300. Again, I don't really remember the synopsis of this book, so I can't really say anything specific about this one either, just kind of the stuff I've already said about his work. I think this is, I don't remember when this one was published, but it is one of the older ones, not his first, but it wasn't this decade. I'm pretty sure it wasn't this decade at the very least. So yeah, the same reasons, could just be those reasons. Even The Mask of Atreus, I can at least remember the cover. This one, I don't exactly remember what the cover looked like, but there might have been different covers, different editions. I don't know, like the one that shows up for me on Goodreads, I don't even remember. Once I see it, I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's that one, but I could have gotten it confused with another one. But regardless, I'm excited to support his work. All of his work so far for me has been 4 or 5 stars. I don't know if it'll ever be lower than that for me, but it'll be exciting to see the range. Like, if he has a book that I just do not like at all, that'll be interesting to see. Next is Red River Rose by Carolyn Lindstrom. Has an average rating of 3.47 out of over 100. This is a, I think maybe middle grade or young adult story about a Native American, indigenous, whatever the proper word is. If you have an opinion on that, let me know. But yeah, girl, and I don't really remember what else it's about, but I mainly wanted to read it because I heard somebody on BookTube talk about it, and I thought it sounded interesting, and just I wanted to get more of that perspective because I do not belong to that group myself, so I just wanted to learn more about it. As for why it has a low rating, I don't know. I've never read anything by the author. It very well could just be typical things with fiction, you know, like it could be boring, or who knows. I will have to see for myself. I don't really have a guess for these. I'm trying, but I have no idea. I mean, I don't know if the author belongs to that indigenous community, so if not, then maybe people feel that there are some historical inaccuracies or stereotypes. That could be a thing. I don't know, though. Next is Life or Death by Stephanie Meyer. This book has an average rating of 3.48 out of over 30,000 ratings. This is a basically gender-bent version of the first Twilight book, where the characters' names are, what were their names again? Instead of Bella and Edward, it's Beaufort and Edith. Beaufort? I don't even know if I was saying those right, but you get the idea. And yeah, it's basically the story, I guess. I haven't actually read it, so I don't know yet. I've read all the main Twilight books, including The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner. This one I do have a better guess as to why it has a low rating. I think a lot of people probably just found this book as unnecessary. I'm guessing that it's probably quite similar to the original. I doubt it's the exact same words and dialogue and everything, but I am curious to see just how similar it is and if I'll like it. it is kind of like I already know what happens, so I don't know if it'll be that interesting to me. I even had a friend who read this and told me to basically just not even bother reading most of it and just skip to the baseball scene, which I don't think saying that's a spoiler because she didn't say what happens at the baseball scene, but she said that that was interesting. She'd read a sequel based on that. So I'm kind of intrigued, but I think when I read it, I will read the whole thing, to be fair. So I guess it gets a little different towards the end, but yeah, it does seem like it's just kind of a reimagined version of Twilight, and I don't know if it'll be necessary. Like, Buford and Edith are not the characters that I know. They're not who I'm familiar with. I don't know if they're just going to be exactly like the main characters but gender swapped. We will have to see, but I can see why people might not like this. It sounds like an interesting idea that the author played around with. I think it's cool that she liked the idea enough that she was able to make a whole book of it, but it's like, was this necessary? Or maybe I'll read it and absolutely love it. Maybe I'll like it more than the original. I don't know, but I can understand why this has a low rating. I think people were like, did we really need this? I don't really hear high praise about Life and Death specifically. It's more so about the other books, but we will have to see when we get there. But yeah, I am rather reluctant to read this. Who knows when I'll get to it, because I feel like it'll just kind of be like reading a story I've already read. I feel similarly about Midnight Sun, though I do look forward to that more because, again, that's the character I know. But also, it is just like the first book from someone else's perspective. I do think it'll be interesting to get that perspective, but it's like twice as long as the first book because apparently Edward yaps. And I also heard he's like very whiny and complains a lot, but typically when people complain about something or someone being whiny in a book, I usually don't mind it or see it that way, so I might not mind it so much, but we'll just have to see. Well, I've heard that he's very self-loathing, and maybe it's just gonna be like really negative, and I might not vibe with that too much. I think if he's got a point, then that's fine, but if you're just being like super negative and always finding something to complain about, that's a little different. So yeah, I'm not super looking forward to reading Life and Death, but I own it. I will read it someday, probably, and we'll see how I feel about it. Hopefully it won't be a slog to get through. I haven't really felt that way about the other Twilight books. I did enjoy them for the most part, even though they're kind of long, so we'll just have to see. Next is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It has an average rating of 3.47 out of over 1 million rating. This one I can understand. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard a lot of things about it. I know it's very different from the original books. I think it's like a play, so it's in play format, which is part of why I don't think I'll mind reading it so soon after I'm done with the main series, because it doesn't sound like it'll take very long to read, but I think people just had complaints about certain things becoming canon. I guess they didn't want it to go a certain way, or I don't know, maybe they felt that it should have ended at the main books. They didn't really want the story to continue. I will have to see for myself. Don't know if I'll enjoy it. It might be nice to be in the world again, but yeah, I don't know. It's possible that I'll feel similarly. I know it doesn't really have quite the same reputation as the other books, but some die-hard fans may just read it anyway. It's interesting, when the last 3 books of the series, the ones I haven't read yet, were in my video for the highest rated books on my TBR, but ultimately, like, I haven't read this yet, so I don't really know what the issue with it is and why people just really don't like it, but I do know it's different, and for some people that can be the issue. It's just different, not what they're expecting. Who knows? Next is My Secret YouTube Life by Charlotte Seeger. Has an average of 3.23 out of over 400 ratings. This just sounded interesting to me. I'm not familiar with the author, but something to do with YouTube. It's like young adult or adult, and it's something to do with a girl with a YouTube channel, and yeah, I don't remember much else, but it sounded interesting enough to me, being a YouTuber myself, so I'd like to read that someday. Maybe some people will just find it kind of corny or cheesy, or won't really resonate with the plot, or maybe it's poorly written or something, I don't know, but I will have to see for myself. The last book for this video is Royce Rolls by Margaret Stoll, another book I saw at Ollie's. It sounded interesting and I picked it up. This has an average rating of 3.15 out of over 1,000, which is pretty low. I have not read anything by this author. The premise of a girl sucked into a family that does a reality TV show sounded interesting to me. I have no idea why it has a low rating. Maybe the girl being part of a rich family, maybe she's like spoiled and an unlikable main character, I don't know. Or people just, yeah, I'm trying to think of why people may not like this story. I am interested to read from her perspective. She didn't sound super spoiled from the synopsis, but who knows? Maybe, again, it's the kind of thing where it's not quite what people are expecting. Like, they hear reality TV show, they might expect a certain thing. Maybe the book's not quite like that, but then again, it is in book format. But I'm very interested to read that sort of thing in a book. I do think that the low rating makes me kind of even more eager to read this and find out why it's rated this way, because maybe it'll be like really bad and then I'll get to see that. Or maybe I'll like it, and with my favorite book, This Song Is Not For You, I'll be like, why does it have such a low rating? I don't quite understand. We'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to read this book for myself someday and check it out. So those are the lowest rated books on my TBR currently. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching.